Welcome to session 4. In this session, I want to talk to you about some tools for reading the Bible. This is just going to get really practical on the best way that you can interpret it with some help from other great people, smart people, educated people who have gone in and done some great work on your behalf. And so one of the tools I would first start just by recommending is just get a good study Bible. A study Bible has the scriptures, and then usually at the bottom, maybe on the side, they're going to have some commentary on the Bible itself. And so those times where you run into it, be like, what in the world does this mean? What is that? Where was this? The study Bible is going to come and do that work for you, so you can just kind of reference down and say, oh, well, that is helpful. So maybe that's going to be a good investment for you as you start, or maybe continue your journey, is to invest in a good study Bible. There's lots on Amazon you can get. Even go to Chapters here in town or wherever you're at, and you can invest into a good study Bible. Let me talk to you about translations. And so, okay, well, what translation should I get? Well, this is an important question. I will say, first off, here's the best translation. The best translation of the Bible is the one that you actually read, all right? So maybe that should just be the only test. The best translation is the one that you read. I don't think we need to be grappling and fighting over it. It's got to be King James, or it's got to be NIV, it's got to be ESV. Look, the best translation is the one that you're actually going to read. But let me just go through some of the more technical terms about the different types of translations. One of them is called a formal equivalent, and this is a word-for-word type of translation, like the ESV or the English Standard Version. The formal equivalent is really precise on how the original language is laying out the sentence. And so this means that you're left to study the text for yourself to see what it means. So these are really good for like more technical Bible studies. Another one is a functional equivalent. And so it's not a formal equivalent, it's more functional. And so the interpreters are saying it's not so much the word for word that matters, but what is the sentence in the original language trying to get at? So instead of being word for word, the functional equivalent is thought for thought. And a good example of that is the NIV. The way that we preach here, the version that we preach out of the Bible here at KC is that, the NIV, which is a functional equivalent. And so these take the words that are there and try to communicate what the author intended to say through the text. And so these ones are probably easier to read. So, right, so you start with the formal equivalent, word for word. Then there's a functional equivalent, which is thought for thought. And then finally, this is very general, is the paraphrase. All right, and this is something would be like the Message version of the Bible. And so the Message is more, what does the whole section say, or what do these sentences say? And then they more paraphrase that. So it's interesting. What I'd love for you to do is, wherever you're at online, is to look at this verse in Mark chapter 6, verse 37. If you read the ESV, the NIV, and the Message, here's how it reads. The ESV, at the end, Jesus says, "But he answered, you give them something to eat." They said to him. So here's how the ESV reads. The disciples said back to Jesus, they say, "Shall we go and buy 200 denarii worth of bread?" 200 denarii worth of bread? That's how that they answer in the ESV. In the NIV, it reads this. "That would take more than half a year's wages. Are we to go and spend that much on bread and give it to them to eat?" Then in the Message, it says, "Are you serious? You want us to go spend a fortune on food?" So Jesus is saying, in the feeding of this large group, you give them something to eat. The ESV says 200 denarii, very, very specific. The NIV says that would take a half a year's wages, thought for thought. The Message says, "Are you serious? That would be a fortune," right? So you see how in that one detail, these different translations play out. So it's really important for you as you're starting this journey, maybe depending on where you're at, that you get a translation that's easy and helpful for you. So maybe the NIV is good. Maybe the Message is more accessible. Or maybe you want to get more technical and you want that challenge. Then get something like the ESV. Another tool that you can have in your toolbox as you read the Bible is the Bible reading plan. There's lots online. A great one is in the YouVersion app. Lots there for you as far as a good reading plan that'll help you kind of keep on track through your week. And the other thing I'd recommend before I leave you is to read the Bible in community. Continue maybe with the group that you journeyed through Rooted with. Find a friend, join a life group, because as we do this, reading the text, reading the Bible in community is such a great way and a great tool that I don't think is often thought about enough. So maybe your action item, or maybe what you want to think through is, what is the best translation for me? And if you don't have that translation, maybe go find that translation somewhere.